Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Create Apps That Work, Gain Users, and Scale. I'm Eva, and I will be your moderator for this session. This event, as you know, is powered by Tumba Solutions, a company that has helped startups and scale-ups across different industries tackle technical challenges, build scalable products, and accelerate growth. And I have Irina and Emo with me. Irina is a business development manager and co-founder at Tumba Solutions. Irina, tell us more about Tumba, and are you now in the office?
Hello, hello. Yeah, I'm live from Tumba's office. We say Tumba, Tumba, Tumba. What does it mean? It means actually together. And this basically reflects our commitment to building long-term relationships and partnerships that deliver scalable and high-quality digital products that drive real impact. So yeah, it's been more than 10 years now, and we've partnered with different companies in industries like autonomous transport, urban mobility, sports, medtech, and digital publishing, of course. So I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to answering any questions you guys may have.
Okay, and Emo is the founder of Tumba Solutions. Emo has over 20 years of experience, and he have a lot of projects behind his back in tech industry. He is entrepreneur and also an investor in that field. And Emu has worked, as I already said, on different projects over different industries with startups, scale-ups, and companies, enterprise companies listed in Fortune 500. So, Emo, over to you about this webinar and the key of how to create apps that work, that really works.
Thanks for the introduction, Eva. I'm very privileged to be here with you guys and share some of my experience. I feel a lot like an engineer, although mobile apps are for more than a decade, and there's many things that change over the years. They more or less stay the same. I would say like more than a decade ago, we were on a demo day with colleagues preparing for a very important demonstration for a month, kind of a MVP. And as you can imagine, when we were doing some demos, something went wrong. So one of our colleagues was hanging out of the window and trying to reach out for connectivity, as it wasn't that, the coverage wasn't that well these days. But yeah, even today, going back to where we are, things have changed a bit, maybe a lot, but also they're kind of at the same. So where to start? I would say three things to consider initially was what platforms you're interested in, where are your users, what's important for you and your application, like it to work optimally, to be very performant, for you to deliver a lot of features, test and experiment, or use some cross platform solutions. And in the end of the day, maybe the most important thing is what's your budget and what's your expertise in-house that you have and what you can leverage.
So I'm jumping on the next question, how to choose the right technology stack for the app.
Okay, so that's could be quite a long answer. But the things to really start with, again, to identify, as I mentioned, to identify where are your users. In the past, we were in a situation where, let's say, for certain geographies, application like a platform like Android is very well or way more popular, let's say, in regions like Asia compared to Europe and North America. So you can find, it's important to find where your users are, and can you go for one platform, especially in the beginning, as it could be very, very challenging to build a good application and evolve it. It's two platforms. The dominant platforms are, I believe everyone knows that, but just for sake of being complete here, is Android and iOS are the two dominant platforms by Google and Apple, and they are very similar but also very different in a way that how do you program, how do you address some user experience functionalities, how you reach out this functionality you want your app to provide to your user, could be very similar but very different. Also things like which are very important for mobile developers are how they monetize and how they bundle things like use features like in-app purchases, or how they distribute their application or updates. Very, very different in a very similar kind of a on top level platform. So the thing that is quite popular and it's, I would say, could be a very appealing for startups, especially to experiment, that want to experiment with, is to go with a web. Like there is and if it's possible to build on what you have in web, like create a kind of a progressive web page application or React Native or Ionic, something that really helps you to sorry something that helps you to very quickly build something that you can put in your users' hands. That's very appealing approach. Also, there are more complex, more like well-engineered platforms and tools like Flutter, I would say, which is probably the most popular right now, that is cross-platform and can help you deliver your products on both platform with some kind of a reduced complexity. So yeah.
Okay, let's dive deeper in technology. What do you think native or cross-platform?
Well, as I said, it's first depends on what's your goals, like what the application, why you believe you need to build an app at first, because there are a lot of application, like really millions of application already in the stores, why you need to add another one. And then also consider your, of course, users, where they are they on both platforms? Are they dominantly on one of the platforms? And here I just can give you one more example, is where we in the past had a customer that wanted to, they actually want to build a product for both platforms, but it turns out that they wanted to, it was very important for them, the application to support in-app purchases. And at this point, for their geography, only iOS users were like, not only, but like 98% of the users on iOS will buy additional content and features. So we had a very, I would say, more than a year discussion on this topic, and at the end of the day, they decided that okay, it's more important for us to focus on the iOS as this is where our users are, and it's nice to be on both platforms, but as I said, it could be very time-consuming and resourceful effort. And this is where cross-platforms kind of approaches can shine. They can solve you some of those challenges, that you can have unified code base, similar experience, which could be an advantage and disadvantage. Also, especially if it's like a web, it could be familiar to your team expertise. So that's also a very appealing approach.
Thanks, Amo. But what about backend and database choices when we are talking about app development?
Yes, well, as there are all the classical approaches, clouds or not, to build with build REST APIs on top of some RDBMS or other database. Although as part this in the last decade, when with the mobile app explosion, the mobile backend as services offering actually were very, very popular and very became quite powerful, I would say. Even probably right now, the easiest go-to kind of a solution is Firebase. It's a service provided by Google, and they are in this service you will find almost everything you as a mobile developer you need otherwise to build on your own, and you can just really use this Firebase approach, which is absolutely amazing. As if you're a newcomer to this field, you will find out a lot of challenging areas, such as ad hoc distribution to testing, provisioning devices, and so on, that could be tricky to learn on your own. Yeah.
Okay, so the key takeaway here is choose a tech stack based on your app's long-term needs, not just what's trending. Scalability matters. So that's the key takeaway from Amo's words now. I'm posting this in the chat, just to remember that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the QA section or in the chat. And Amo and Irina will be happy to answer. We already have a question, and we'll start answering in 5 minutes when we're almost ready. So I have a question about the most common pitfalls startups face and how to avoid them.
All right. First, apologies for my notification. I hope that I fixed that annoying ring on my end. So regarding the pitfalls, a lot of things can go wrong and will go wrong. Just to remind you, it's nice to remind ourselves when we're building applications that they are distributed to our users. They don't have always the latest version of the app and so on. So many things will go wrong. So be chill about that. It will happen. But remember to prioritize your work. And first and foremost is when you're building something, you need to think about very, very hard about what are the minimum viable products or the things that I need to validate for my user and their needs before I invest building the whole solution. As it could be very time consuming. Like it could take years to build an app that is relatively complex for modern standards. So that's definitely very important. The other thing that it's very very crucial is we, especially engineers, we tend to overcomplicate things. So trying always to follow the KISS kind of approach, like keep it simple as possible, I'll say, or is really, really, really payoffs in mobile. Basically, these are things that you should consider in the beginning, but also you should not avoid, but you should have in mind things that when you're building an application, there is also some infrastructure or some integration. You're laying out some foundation, and if possible, make this foundation solid. So when and if this application grows and your user base grows, again, depends on which sector are you in. Things could go wild, and because the application, as I mentioned, they are downloaded voluntarily by the users, you can have, you can kind of ruin years of work or months of work just by not having a solid foundation. Here I can give one example when it was very old days, but we with one of the channels in UK, ITV, I don't know if anyone knows that, but they were official broadcaster for UK for the World Cup. I think Southern Africa it was this year, and 2014, I believe. And we knew that because football is very popular, and we were able to get our hands on some video archives and some interesting quiz that could provoke users to get back to the app. We knew that we need to make sure that all critical content for the day, because every day there's a new content published, is available and pre-downloaded on device. And the risk, and I'm very happy that we had this luxury to convince the customer to do that upfront instead of having another feature that is functional and visible. We had more than almost 500,000 users on the days. If I'm not wrong, England went to semifinals. So as you can imagine, the interest was very high, and really was very, very important thing that we managed to and we had this luxury again to have a supportive customers to lay out this foundation. But yeah, that's most important things, I think. Eva, you're muted.
I always forget about the microphone when I am talking with attendees in the chat. So sorry. So the key takeaway here is to validate your idea, start simple with simple steps, step by step, and always think about the success of the app and scale. So I will copy that in the chat already. I have copied it. And the next question is about user experience. Maybe the most interesting thing for the people here, because some of you already wrote that they have no experience in the tech field. So it will be very interesting questions. What are the key elements to ensuring a seamless user experience that keeps people coming back and back to the app and using it, and make that wave of users that grow always and keep the startup scaling to the next level?
Well, again, very broad topic. Although there are a couple of things that we should remind ourselves very frequently. First, regardless that I think that's on average, current number is about 3.5 hours per day. We tend to use our mobile phones a day, which is a lot. Although when we are consuming an application, we tend to spend like a couple of seconds on an application, and again, depends what's the application. If this application is your banking application, probably that's not the case, or some other application where you're watching video or whatever. But most importantly, on average, we have a couple of seconds, and we don't want to waste these couple of seconds in things like loading time. So it's very annoying and frustrating, I would say, experience. And sometimes like even web pages, modern web pages, you open some web page and you were waiting like 5 seconds, and there's so many contents that are coming your way before you can render and check actually, oh, is this article for me or not? And that's really something that's and I would say in general as engineers and professionals in the field, we need to be more vocal about that. It's really, really bad. The other thing is more about the complexity. And I'll start with one thing that is very common we have seen it dozens of times or hundreds of times, I would say. People want their app to be different. They want to change how the application looks and feels and how they want to customize that. And sometimes it can be justified, but really it's a very, very risky move. You need to be aware that if you want to create a new user experience, you know very well why you are doing it. Very few, let's say 1 in million of those user experience are becoming standards. And if you follow and keep more like keep in the platform user experience, kind of follow the platform way of rendering content or showing or interacting with the application. Just keep it that way. Don't reinvent the wheel. I can say that we have in the past big customers that they have, again, maybe working one, but they've spent millions to make some customization that just follow some new branding rules for new fonts, for new spacing that in general sounds great, but then you're on a mobile space. You have to think about like different screen sizes. You need to think about fat fingering problems. You need to think about connectivity, and you don't want to show constantly loading indicators and so on and so on. And the last one, which is again a field that I personally believe we again as an industry need to get better, is to provide solutions that are more accessible, as there are people with some disabilities that actually are preventing them from using your application, and we need not to ignore those users.
People likes that answer of the question. We have a lot of thumbs up and hearts. So I have a question about testing. What about testing, and how do you guys make these apps handling thousands of millions of users at the same time? What's the secret of the successful app, even with low level of users, of a smaller amount of users?
Okay, well, yeah, well, just the most important thing in terms of testing is to be able early to define criterias and set expectation, like spike times, like whether, for instance, how likely your application needs to be working in a situation that is in a low connectivity situation or without connectivity situation. Like let's say if I have an application that opens my door or stops my security or something like that, I don't want this functionality to be dependent on the what is the workload of the server or how well my internet connection is. So you need to identify what's important and critical and make sure that those things are not only tested as a end product, but you and your team know how to build robust and testable source code. And these days it's very easy, to, let's say, if I'm an engineer, I can ask my AI assistant, and I believe most of the people now use those kind of tools to help you build tests, like even unit tests, which is very basic, but they can help you to start with that. And yeah, please do that. It will pay off by large at some point.
And let's summarize the key takeaway. Run usability tests, gather real feedback, and refine continuously, fast, simple, and user-friendly. So you will have, as a result, an app people love and keep using. And the next question is connected to it, gaining new users. It's very important. And Irina, tell us more about how to attract the right audience and keep them.
Thanks for the question. Basically, the first thing you need to consider is to have a strong value proposition. So what is the problem your app is solving, and why is it better than the competitors? Here, I would I'd strongly advise you to know your competition, because basically you know where the market is. So differentiating from your competitors is quite crucial, so know them. And another thing I would say is to know how does your product fit in the user's daily life. Of course, leverage the data for smart user acquisition, experiment with different channels, track and optimize, of course, the acquisition costs, because these are quite important. And another advice I have is to prioritize onboarding, because first impression counts. Usually it takes seconds for the user to decide whether to keep the app or not. So make sure you minimize the friction, reduce the required steps, offer guest logins, and provide instant value that the users can get. Another thing that it's quite important is to encourage word of mouth and to encourage user-generated content, reviews, socials, shares, as well as community engagement. You could implement different referral programs, and remember the first rule of marketing is build a brand that people will love and would love to talk about. You need to unmute.
It always happens. So how to reduce churn and how to keep users engaged and make them always come back to the app again and again.
Yeah, listen to your users, read the comments, make sure that you understand what the pain is. You can run different surveys to understand more about what your users love or they don't like. So yeah, you need to understand why they want to leave. Also, in case this is the case, the user wants to leave, you can use different mechanics to try to convince them to stay for longer. You can use exit pop-ups or win-back campaigns. So just make sure that you provide an easy way back. for the people, even though they left. Make sure that they can come back so you can remind them. Another, actually one of my favorites is how to optimize the user engagement. Once you know your users, you really need to create those habit loops. So tie your app to the daily routines of the people, put reminders or some kind of gamification that can bring them back and use your app. These are just the things on top of my mind.
Can I just because I rather recommend that the volume is low, I changed my headset. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Good, good. Hopefully that's better for you guys. So one thing about the users and churns is very, very, very critical and important. It's related to the previous topic is about the testing is your application should not crash, or if sometimes something like that happens, you know how to recover. It could be really, really a way of, if you don't pay attention to that, you'll see in the comment, of course, then the comments, you'll see a wall score, but it's one of the driving force for people going up, stepping away from your application is really crashing or buggy or being very tedious and so on. So yeah, keep that in mind as well.
Thanks, Emo. Let's jump to the Q&A session because we have already a lot of questions, and start with the first one, which is more effective, web or mobile app budget-wise? The question is from Andy Smith. So Andy, here is your answer from Emo.
Okay, well, it's budget-wise. It's at start, it will be for sure the web approach, as it has way easier. It will be way more easier for in general. I mean, to deliver some content, some functionality to your users. Although if this application becomes more demanding in terms of to use the mobile the mobile platform in a more full or more like I can give you one example, like if you want to download a lot of content, pre-cache this content, or have some other functionality that requires a good integration with the platform itself, you start struggling and fighting with the platform. And we have seen a number of products and application that outgrew their web kind of a shell, and they actually the owner, the customer is fighting with the platform, with the web platform, to make a, I would say, something pretty common for most mobile apps. So in essence, if it's something simple, yeah, the web is a very, very good approach, and it will be better on your budget. If things go really more complicated, like as I mentioned, you need to integrate with some functionality with your mobile device. You need to consider the mobile app, which I assume is the native kind of approach.
Okay, and the next question is coming from Michael or Miko. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. So what are the options for founders who have no technical background to develop apps? So not tech founders, how to develop their apps?
Uh, Probably they like I assume they want to build a prototype, so there are no coding products. I think there was someone mentioned such one earlier in the comments. Go White, as I'm sure if I'm not wrong. Anyway, but there are a number of no-code solutions, and you as a non-tech founder, you can use these tools. And right now with what's happening with AI, you can have some assistance to build something even more complex, but it's still a prototype, which is great for you. You're a non-tech founder, and you can validate your idea, which we discussed. It's one of the first thing you need to to address, and yeah.
Okay. The next question is, which no-code app can we use for building web apps, Flutter or Glide?
There is a For Flutter, there is probably at least the one that I believe is more popular, Flutter Flow, which is a no coding tool to build a mobile app. Glide, I personally don't have experience with that, but there are a lot of tools. Actually, in my previous company, we were doing similar solutions um, with mobile as a service with no coding, where you can build basically an application in a couple of verticals without touching any source code or building or distributing that on your own. So we did that more than 10 years ago. Right now, the tools are way more powerful and you could do a lot, but just be aware and practical. This is not really an app development. It's more like prototyping your concept, proving it works. So at some point, you need to move to the next level.
Thanks. And the next question is coming from Jason. And the question is, as a non-technical person looking to solve a problem with an app, what should one do?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If you're a non-technical person
Yeah.
and you have a problem with your app, what's the steps? What can you do to solve your problems? What are the
Well,
steps and your
okay.
advice?
Yeah, well, first in-house, it's great to look in-house. If you have someone in your company or in your network to help you out or please guide you, that's what I would recommend. Um, and of course, as we do that for everything else, like if something goes wrong with my plumbing at home, I'll call up some specialist to come and fix that for me. Unless, I want to fix it on my own, but I don't know, not always the best decision. So yeah, these are things that I'll consider first. Irina, you wanted to add something?
As a non-technical person, I would think about, first of all, the business problem I want to solve, and try to describe as much as possible, to think about the users that are going to need that app. I will try to identify what's the business case first. Then I would go and seek for investment, and try to prove my concept in a very, very low budget way, just to make sure that what I think is needed is actually needed by the market. And of course, I can reach out to companies like Tumba and to seek advice or consultation regarding my idea.
Thanks, Irina.
Yep.
Emu, do you want to add something to that question?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, we have more questions. And the next one is coming from Tushar. How should we know if our product really needs an app or a website will be fine? Mobile app or just a website?
It depends where your users are. So that's one way to approach it. It also depends on the budget you have. And I would suggest to start with the market research and make sure that the target customers are there. You could build also ideal customer personas and just experiment with different scenarios, different channels to pinpoint where the solution is.
Yeah, I'll answer it a little bit from technical perspective to add a bit on that topic is it's still about the users and the use cases. So if it's important for you to be in your customer's pocket, the app is kind of the logical way. If that's not important, it's more like be your service or product to be accessible from mobile. Yes, you can optimize your website. You can create. There are a lot of things like progressive web applications or other techniques to be very app-like without going through the hustle around the app development, because we didn't scratch much about this topic, but could be very tricky especially for newcomers, is the distribution, the app stores, the level of details you might need to get into in order to your application to first be released on those marketplace, and then to support that every year or so, just to follow the industry, because this industry, it's great that we have those two runners ups like the Android and the iOS, but they tend to create new stuff just to, I don't know, maybe it's my personal opinion, at some point there really can be annoying in asking you to do changes that are absolutely unnecessary. Regardless, you have a couple of months, or if you're lucky, 6 months to address and meet some requirements that you cannot predict there. You just, follow whatever the big guy says, and you need to do that. Otherwise, you're out of the stores.
Oh, Emo got hearts and thumbs up for his answer. And just to remember, attendees get a $5,000 voucher and 50% off the accelerator program. That's a fantastic opportunity to take your app to the next level. Don't miss that opportunity. Here is the link posted in the chat. Register to that program and take a chance with Tumba. And you will also receive a recording of this webinar along with additional resources. So just to let you know. And we are jumping to the next question. The next question is about the balance, how to balance the speed, security, and usability in apps architecture. And it's coming from Jeremy.
Okay, tricky question in general, how to balance
Challenging one
them.
for you? Is that a challenging one?
No, it's finding a balance is always a challenge. So it's easy to, if you have all the resources you need, you just do them all by the book and you're done. You you have them, but usually you you're in a race to basically change. You're racing with things like having more budgets. We have a timeline to release new versions, um, to release out new features that the business wants to put on the market and expect and wants to have this growth and so on. So it's very, very, very hard on to do that on day one. And if you are struggling with that, of course, there's a lot of information in the internet and outside. Let's say not just the internet, but there very likely there will be an open source products and solutions that are similar to your, even not directly the same, and you can get some good practices from there as well. It's in the mobile space, it's kind of a matured now, so we don't have that much frameworks and way of making application. Although, as I said, things change uh, sometimes very often, too often. And uh, and I just recall that the last. It's a funny story because like a couple of weeks ago or so, we received from Google that they're changing their terms and conditions, and for one of the features, we need to rework them. Otherwise, yeah, in 2 weeks, yeah, we will lose that. Yeah, our app will be out of the store. So it can be very frustrating. But yes, balancing, maybe at the end of the day, what I will recommend is going back to my previous note. Keep it simple. If you can try to not to overcomplicate your solution, that gives you more chances to be able to support it and to fix or whatever is missing. So
Thanks, Emo. And we have one more question from Jeremy. And the question is, what are the most common mistakes developers make that lead to app failures? Have you seen developers' mistakes in your 20 plus years of experience in software development?
many. I'm personally guilty of charges for many as well, but uh, mm, again, I'll say it in a different way. Over engineering with engineers and mobile development is more like a engineering work. We tend to kind of feel like the domain experts that knows all the answer. We know how to do that. Don't mess with our work. Tell us what you want, and a couple of months later, I'll give you my solution. And yeah, that's one thing that is too complicated to understand, to support that, to deliver it, to test it. And last, I mentioned testing. That's also very important to not lose an eye on that. And you don't need to test everything, but you need to be very structured and very tedious in your testing strategy so that you know that like you may, for instance, for testing, it might be okay, like some coloring not to be right on some of the release to kind of be wrong with that. But if you have a subscription, paid subscription or something like that, and this functionality obviously is the most critical thing for your business, you want to make sure that nothing goes wrong there. It's very painful for your users, but your your boss will be mad at you.
a lot of smiles and thumbs up, and that means the answer is great. So the next.
No, it's you're having like right now you're smiling about the cowards, but and it's very deep. It's understandable, but it's we had in the past, even like last year, some of the bugs that were prioritized to be fixed was related to cowards, and not like they were completely off, but they are slightly off the branding book of the branding book. And yes, it's obviously a problem, but is that B1? And again, maybe I saw someone is working in the fashion business. Maybe for fashion or other businesses, that's critical, the covers and so on. But if you're delivering banking software or something like that, you need to think about really first critical critical functionality, and then your team to understand what's make this application successful and align with that.
Thanks. Are you ready for the next question?
So
We have ready. Okay. So let me check one. How do you ensure high App Store ratings, and how do you ensure high App Store ratings and positive reviews? Maybe this is a question for Irina.
That's a hard one. So if you receive bad comments, you really need to dig deeper, and to understand whether it was a technical issue, an issue with the product, or with the business model. We had a client who had really bad reviews, and it was a mixture of different tools and mechanics we used, and I'm happy to share that things are fixable and the ratings go up. But taking care of your app and of your users is one of the first thing you need to do.
we kind of discussed this topic, and I recall right now one more thing that can help you a lot is because when the bar is low and you have a lot of negative comments and angry people, is one of the things that you can do is as part of your improvement program, and is to release more frequent, and it gives them kind of a feeling to your user that you care and you're doing something about that, even if it's what I'm trying to say. Don't wait 6 months to release your next version. Just try to make a small iteration once a month, or even it could be even more frequent if needed, or less. But don't wait. Don't put back for the ideal release. As I mentioned, Google or Apple can change your plans as well, so you may be delayed a few more months before you deliver your kind of ideal version. So yeah, frequent releases is also a very good approach to address that.
Emo, can you repeat the name and write it in the chat? The name of the coding app. I think the Tushar is asking about Flutter.
The Flutter Flow, you mean? Let me just check how.
Do you have any other questions while Emo is typing the answer, and he will answer to this question and will tell us more about Flutter? Okay. It seems that we have no other questions till now. You have a chance to ask anything, Emo and Irina, about app development. You can ask your questions even live on the stage. So if you have any questions, just ask in the chat or in the QA session. And also you can apply for the accelerator program, that opportunity to take your app to the next level with Tumba Accelerator program. You can get a voucher of $5,000 and also 50% off the accelerator program. So don't miss that chance. And you can also have a private session with Emo. So reach him out. You have his email in the chat and we'll set it up. You can also contact Irina. You can find her email in the chats. So it's up to you.
You can also reach out to us on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, so here's my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to reach out there as well. And this is my email.
Let me check for any other questions. And we have no questions here. So thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you. And maybe you can share with us some news about your apps, your new ventures, and only good news. So thank you guys for being here with us. Irina, Emo, final words?
Thank you, Eva, for organizing this. It was a pleasure.
Thank you all. Yeah, I probably sounded a little bit more like it's too scary to go in the app space, but no, it's really thrilling experience, and you should try it. It could be kind of a could lift off and be something that helps you a lot to realize your ideas and dreams, and it's very mature. You can find a lot of information, a lot of tools, a lot of professional to help you, even if you're a non-tech person. Technology is not a stopper. It's very well understood. You just need to find out if you have the right users and need to fill, and everything else will happen. Wish you a lot of success. Thank you very much for being with us, and looking forward to hear from you.
Thanks again and see you soon. Bye.